Hello everyone, my name is Hubert and welcome to Teach Me channel. Today we'll be looking at GCSE Biology Circulatory System. Now, this is a system that is responsible for pumping blood around the body. Now, it pumps the blood around the body in order to supply all the organs and muscles, all the tissues, all the relevant tissues need to be supplied with oxygen, and they also need to be supplied with nutrients. And now all of that is carried in blood. So this is exactly why we need to pump the blood all around the body in order to achieve that aim. Now, also, we need to be able to reoxygenate blood, because if we are pumping blood throughout the body, the tissues start using up that oxygen. All the tissues that we're delivering oxygen to, they use it up and then they spit out carbon dioxide. Now, we need to be able to reoxygenate that. We need to be able to recycle that blood, and we need to be able to put oxygen in it again. And this is exactly why our circulatory system, more precisely, is called double circulatory system. Why is that? Because we have one small circulatory cycle that is responsible for reoxygenating blood, and we have one big circulatory cycle that's responsible for supplying that blood to all the tissues. Now, without further ado, let's get started on what is heart and how all of this happens. How does heart work? Now, heart essentially is a pump. Heart is made from muscle tissue. It's made from cardiac muscle tissue. And heart contracts in a specific way as dictated by its internal pacemaker, by a group of cells in the heart that release electric impulses to decide the pace of the heart. And that heart pumps in a synchronized manner to pump all the blood through both of these circulatory cycles. So what happens in detail? Well, I drew up a diagram here. It's a simplified diagram of a circulatory system where I'm not going into detail too much as what happens in the rest of the body and what happened in the lungs exactly. But this diagram should cover everything you need to know for GCSE biology. For A-level biology, that's a different question. I'll be making separate videos on that. And we'll be making more videos on circulatory system. This today is just to give you an overview of how heart works and how the blood circulates. We'll be making more videos in the future on arteries, veins, and things as such. So look out for these videos. So, we have two sides to the heart. We have a right side and we have a left side. On the right side, we have a deoxygenated blood, as shown in blue. On the left side, we have oxygenated blood, as shown in red. And here's a legend which I used to label all these different components inside the heart. We'll go over it, so don't worry about it. So, let me just take you through a journey through the heart. What happens? So we will start here. We start in the left ventricle, which has oxygenated blood in red. And that left ventricle squeezes and pumps this blood through aorta all the way through the rest of the body. Here we are supplying oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. And because that oxygen is used up, that blood supplies the oxygen to the tissues, which carry out respiration and things as such. That blood is supplied to the rest of the body, and the oxygen is used up, and we end up with deoxygenated blood. So what happens with the deoxygenated blood? The oxygenated blood carries on traveling through the veins rather than arteries. We'll do more on that on a next video. So, deoxygenated blood comes back through veins, and it enters vena cava. Now, vena cava is a major vein that takes in all of that deoxygenated blood into the heart, back into the heart. Here there are two outlets. Why there are two outlets? Because here, this is a simplified diagram, but in reality, blood coming through this outlet would be coming from head and arms, whereas blood coming in through this outlet would be coming from the rest of the body. These outlets have their names, but that's not necessary at this stage. So, all that deoxygenated blood comes back to the heart. It comes back to the right atrium. Atria are little compartments compared to ventricles. Atria are little compartments which are important in taking in blood, and they hold that blood whilst ventricles are too busy squeezing out the rest of the blood. And then they pass, and once the ventricle opens up, then blood from atrium will pass into the ventricle, whose job is to squeeze out the blood. So now here's an important point which should help you remember things, because atria are mostly important in taking in blood. So whatever goes into atria, basically blood goes into atria, but blood goes out of ventricles. So that's the way to remember this, that atria just take the blood in and then they pass it on to ventricles, whereas ventricles are the ones that squeeze the blood out and that blood goes into the body. So here we are, the oxygenated blood is passed from the right atrium to the right ventricle, and then that ventricle squeezes and that blood is pushed into pulmonary artery. Now, see what's happening here. Here, we have the first cycle, we have the systemic cycle, where the most of the body have its blood supplied, including heart itself via coronary artery. So, here we have a systemic cycle, which supplies oxygen to most of our body, heart included. However, here at the pulmonary artery, we are beginning our pulmonary cycle. So our second cycle, like I said, is a double cycle. So here we begin our second cycle, where blood is going to be reoxygenated by the lungs. So that's why in right hand side, in the right ventricle, we are squeezing out the deoxygenated blood into pulmonary artery, which splits into two. And that is because we're supplying blood to two lungs. So that's why the split. Each part goes to different lung. And that blood goes along these arteries, and then it enters lungs, where if you watch our previous video on the lungs, you will see how that blood is reoxygenated. The oxygen is supplied again to the red blood cells, and then that blood leaves lungs. And where does it go? That blood leaves lungs, and then it goes to left atrium. So again, atrium is here, and its job is to take blood in. So it takes blood in from the lungs, and that is done by pulmonary vein, by the way. So that blood is taken into atrium via pulmonary vein, and then that blood is again, very similar way, is passed to the left ventricle. And here we are, and we start the cycle again. Left ventricle squeezes and passes that blood out through aorta to the rest of the body, and so the cycle continues. So that's how heart works. Long story short, that's how heart works. That's how we pass this blood around. That's how we reoxygenate that blood, as well as we supply that blood to the rest of the body. Now, another important thing to consider here is how to remember this. How to remember this. We have so many veins, so many bits and bobs sticking out from that heart. And the truth is that you're kind of going to have to remember all these compartments and how that blood travels. But what is the best way to remember this? Now, I like to remember it by sort of applying the logic to it. So, first of all, we have right side and we have left side. Right side we have deoxygenated blood. Whatever is on the right side, that's going to be deoxygenated. Whatever we have on the left side is going to be oxygenated. So that's the first way to remember this. That's the way to split this. Now, atria and ventricles. Now, atria take in blood. So veins are going to be connected to atria because veins are returning blood. Arteries are sending blood out. Veins are returning blood. So we have atria, which their main job is to take that blood in and then pass it on to ventricles. So they take blood in from outside. Therefore, atria are going to be connected to veins. And ventricles are going to be connected to arteries because ventricles, their job is to squeeze blood out. So they push blood out rather than taking it in. And the vessels that are important for pushing blood out are arteries. So in this case, we have pulmonary artery on the right side and we have aorta on the left side. And with atria, we have on the right side, atrium is connected to vena cava, and on the left side, atrium is connected to pulmonary vein. So that's how we remember this. And also, if we take all of that into account, and if we think about the two different major circuits that we have, considering that we have oxygenated blood on the left side, then that blood from the ventricle, that blood needs to go to the rest of the body, where it's going to be used up. Whereas in the deoxygenated side, on the right side, when we are squirting blood out of the heart, well, it can only go to one place. It can only go to lungs, where it will be re-oxygenated. So here you can see how we can apply this sort of logic to work out how is the heart supposed to look like, even if you forget this sort of exact picture of how all these veins connect and hook up. So this is it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate when you guys watch my videos. If you want to stay up to date on daily math, science and some biomedical science videos, hit the subscribe button below. Don't be shy. If you think this video helped you, and I hope that it did, give me a thumbs up. Thank you again very much for watching and see you next time.